Magandang araw mga kaibigan. Welcome to the UCM Interface Bible Study Podcast, isang Bible study podcast by Pinoys for Pinoys. Hosted by UCM Interface, ang young adults community ng Union Church of Manila. Taglish conversational, expository/inductive study method. Di kami experts, most of us are young professionals, but we do try our best to study context and let scripture speak for itself. Sa aming mga book studies and special topics, yung goal namin is to provide you with materials to help you live, work, speak, and serve as a follower of Jesus Christ. Bago magsimula, thanks for joining us. At kung trip nyo tong ginagawa namin, please subscribe and share with your friends and family. Alright, introductions!
Hello, ako po si Meggy, isa pong atleta taga San Juan po.
Hello, Jericho, IT, Paid Surveillance.
At ako naman si Rainier, Young Adult Ministry Director sa Union Church of Manila.
Alright, and this is Gutch, commercial voice artist. This might be our last episode for the year kasi medyo busy yung schedule ng mga tao pagka December, ano? Medyo dami nangyayari. So, kung ito nga ang maging final episode namin for 2020, nais naming sabihin sa inyo lahat na Merry Christmas and Happy New Year!
Yan,
diba?
babati na tayo. Merry Christmas!
Pasko na!
Merry Christmas!
2021 na!
Sana mas maganda ang 2021 kasi grabe, isa't kalahating kalokohan talaga tong 2020 na to. Parang, diba, parang every month may happening eh, di ba?
Oo.
Ayun. Okay, and before we get to today's topic, meron kaming special announcement. For our listeners, meron ba kayong mga tanong tungkol sa Bible? Kasi marami kaming tanong. And kung meron, we would love to hear what your questions are. Please send them in sa ucminterface@gmail.com. Tapos, baka lang in the near future, baka makagawa kami ng special Q&A episode or episodes na yung topics ay yung questions na galing sa inyo. Ito, wala pa naman kaming concrete plan, tsaka baka walang magtanong. Diba? Tayo na lang. Special question by Gutch. But yeah, so if you have any questions, we would love to hear from you. Or if you don't have any questions, we'd still love to hear from you. So, yun. So there. And now, we are now on our 6th parable sa ating current series na Parables in Luke. And for this episode, we're going to discuss the parable of the waiting servants and wise manager na nasa Luke 12:35 to 48. Set of verses tungkol sa mga naghihintay or mga tinamad maghintay. Sawa ka na ba sa paghihintay? Diba? Rainier, sawa ka na ba sa paghihintay?
Hindi na. Ang hinihintay ko na lang talaga ngayon ang pagbabalik ng Panginoon.
Tama naman. Alright, so before we get to our discussion, let's go to our reading. 3, 2, 1, and... Luke 12:35 to 48. Stay dressed for action, and keep your lamps burning, and be like men who are waiting for their master to come home from the wedding feast, so that they may open the door to him at once when he comes and knocks. Blessed are those servants whom the master finds awake when he comes. Truly, I say to you, he will dress himself for service and have them recline at table, and he will come and serve them. If he comes in the second watch or in the third and finds them awake, blessed are those servants. But know this, that if the master of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have left his house to be broken into. You also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Peter said, Lord, are you telling this parable for us or for all? And the Lord said, Who then is the faithful and wise manager, whom his master will set over his household to give them their portion of food at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom his master will find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions. But if that servant says to himself, my master is delayed in coming, and begins to beat the male and female servants, and to eat and drink and get drunk, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and put him with the unfaithful. And that servant who knew his master's will but did not get ready or act according to his will receive a severe beating. But the one who did not know and did what deserved the beating will receive a light beating. Everyone to whom much was given, of him much will be required. And from him to whom they entrusted much, they will demand the more. Grabe. Mga beating na nangyayari.
Oo, may ano.
May chinap-chap.
Ayun,
Di ba?
chop-chop.
Okay, so structure of our discussion. First is, what is the issue that Jesus is addressing? Background, sino yung mga kausap ni Jesus? Ano yung mga tanong sa kanya? Dito, particularly si Peter, may tatanong. Number 2, next, we will go through the parable. And number 3, what is the response that Jesus is asking from his audience and also us today? And lastly, so what? Application and reflection natin. Alright, opening question, Rainier.
Okay, alam niyo naman itong bansa natin, pinuputakte ng lahat na lang ng klase ng natural disaster. Meron nga lang namang katatapos. Nakailang bagyo na
Nagkombo nga
tayo.
ng dalawang bagyo.
Magkasunod.
Oo, magkakasunod yan. Ang tanong, alam niyo, kung napansin niyo dati, nung buhay na ba kayo nung ondoy? Siguro naman.
Yes.
Buhay na buhay.
O, diba? Okay. Mula nung panahong yon, parang yung mga Pilipino bigla nagkaroon na ng awareness sa disaster preparedness.
Yeah.
Parang mas nagkaroon na. Dati kasi hindi natin yan sineseryoso. Ngayon, kayo ba, dahil nga dito sa nangyaring ito, paano kayo mas naging handa sa mga bagay na ganyan? Anong ginagawa nyo?
Kunwari, pagka alam na mawawalan ng kuryente or tubig, so mangongolekta na ng tubig or i-charge yung mga appliances, tas bibili na rin ng sapat na groceries para sakaling hindi makabili sa labas, mag-survive or kung matrap ka man sa bahay.
Oo, ano pa?
Meron kaming go bag, meron kaming mga galon ng tubig, mga canned goods, mga very few clothing, especially for the kids and everything. Na parang, if there's an emergency, fire, earthquake, just get that bag, just get the water and run out. Parang ganun.
Bug out bug, yeah.
Oo. So, yun, natutunan namin pati dun sa UCM, meron tayong mga training na ganyan eh.
Oh, sa church natin merong ganong training. May mga nakahanda na kami, may flashlight, yung mga ganong bagay. May listahan ng mga dapat dun sa bag na yon, meron ka na.
Nakaiwan lang yung gamit na yun dun eh. Tapos isang buong taon o 2 taon walang gumagalaw. Pero I know na when it happens, we'd be so glad that we prepared.
Ito rin yung isa ko pang tanong. Pero minsan kasi, yun na nga, di ba? Dapat handa lagi tayo sa mga ganyang pangyayari. Pero, minsan alam mo, hindi mo maiwasan ng tao. You know, we tend to slack off. Parang, tagal pa yan. Hindi naman yan ganun kaseryoso. Ay, sanay na kami dyan. Taon-taon naman kami binabaha. Bakit kaya minsan, you know, we just take it for granted?
Kasi nararanasan natin tapos hindi naman tayo naapektuhan ng ganong kalala. So parang, para saan pa yung pagpe-prepare kung nasasayang lang naman?
Effort din yun eh, no? Ano pa?
Partly nakakatamad. Yung parang may part of us that thinks na it's not gonna happen to me. Yung earthquake na matindi, yung buong bahay nagiba. That happens on TV, pero it's probably not gonna happen to me. Alam mo yung klase?
Kaya parang iniisip natin, I'll be spared. Hindi ako magiging biktima. Malayong-malayo na mangyari sa akin yan. Dumarating tayo sa punto na minsan, you know, we just slack off. Hindi natin sineseryoso yung problema. Okay, puntahan na siguro natin tong parable. At ang gusto kong isipin ulit natin kung ano yung mga mahahalagang bagay na dapat nating tandaan when we are interpreting a parable. Inuuna lagi natin yung context ng inaaral nating parable. Meron kasing 3 parables na nauna dyan. Bago tayo makarating dito sa verse 35, from verses 1 to 34, merong 3 parables at saka tipong meron siyang mensahe. Merong general lessons na makikita natin dun sa 3 parables na to. Sige nga, medyo bilisan lang natin, scan lang natin, tingnan natin kung ano kaya yung pinakapunto ng mga parables na ito. Kasi ito rin yung magbibigay ng proper context sa inaaral nating parable.
So, Luke 12, the first parts. Mga key verses dito na naka-highlight pa nga sa Bible ko yung nothing is covered up that will not be revealed or hidden that will not be known. addressing hypocrisy to di ba?
Or it's also addressing who you should fear. Diba? You should fear God rather than human beings, rather than men. Yung sumunod na parable, 13 to 21, what is that about?
Ito yung parable of the rich retiree.
Ay, retiree. Ano daw yung dapat maging attitude niya sa kanyang resources?
So si Rich Retiree, ang sabi niya dito, kampante siya na nagtago ako ng goods.
Ganda ng retirement plan ko.
May retirement plan siya for 401k. Kaso hindi Kaso ang nangyari sabi, this night your soul is required of you. And the things you have prepared, whose will they be?
So ano tinuturo kaya dito?
So para kanino yung inimbak mo? Mamamatay ka din ngayon.
Tsaka yung parang don't be too sure about your future. Hindi ikaw yung may hawak sa future mo.
Tsaka yung inaccumulate niya na riches para sa sarili niya Hindi naman para sa Diyos.
So meron tayong pinapakita dito. Ano ba yung relasyon mo sa mga resources mo, sa mga pag-aari mo?
Right.
Tapos, yung sumunod doon sa 22 to 34, tungkol kaya siya saan?
Itong buong 22 to 34 naka-highlight sa akin.
Do not be anxious.
Do not be anxious.
Oo.
Magtiwala ka.
Magtiwala ka. Matutong magtiwala sa Diyos.
Yung combo nitong dalawang kwento na to, putting prosperity in its place. Putting material things kung ano ba siya as a priority.
Meron kasing theme talaga dito na tinuturo Alam niyo, parang medyo tungkol ito sa something about the future. At tuwing nagtuturo, gamitin ko na this is a big word, eschatology. Okay, this is a teaching about the future. At tuwing merong ganyang pagtuturo tungkol sa eschatology, ang Bible ay hindi masyado siyang concerned in informing us of the details about the future. Parang palagi ang emphasis niya ay yung preparedness. Diba? Yung pinaghahanda tayo na dapat maayos ang ating paglilingkod sa Panginoon ngayon.
Right.
So, ang preparedness natin ay nangyayari ngayon. At anong gagawin natin ngayon habang naghahanda tayo sa pagbabalik ng Panginoon? Diba? So, ito yung konteksto. Mas malinaw ito ngayon dito sa ating parable. Ang titingnan natin, 35 to 40, yun muna, no? Dito sa ating parable, merong agad na tinuro ang Panginoon Sabi niya, be dressed, ready for service, and keep your lamps burning, like servants waiting for their master to return from a wedding banquet, so that when he comes and knocks, they can immediately open the door for him. Meron siyang nilarawan, kumbaga, paano nga bang ginagawa ng mga alipin habang sila ay naghihintay sa kanilang master. Alam niyo sinabi dito, be dressed, ready for service. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng be dressed ready for service? Siyempre, kung tayo yan, ang iisipin natin, paano mo ito ilalarawan? Siguro kung tag-ulan na, alam mo yung mga baha, naka-ready na yung bota mo. Di ba yung mga ganon?
Yung kung may uniform ka or something.
Mag-uniform ka. Pero dito, iba yung imagery. Yung stay dressed for action, alam mo, napakaliteral niyan. Yung robe mo, ipapasok mo siya sa ilalim ng belt mo.
Okay.
Bakit mo raw ipapasok or you will tuck your robe under the belt?
Para makatakbo.
Makagalaw.
Oo, para makatakbo. Pero bakit?
Kasi mahirap gumalaw pag nakalaylay lang yung robes mo Hindi ka makakapagtrabaho ng maayos, hindi ka makakagalaw.
Okay. Siguro naman sa ating tatlong mga lalaki dito, hindi pa natin naranasan magpalda. Pero
Bagong tuli.
pwede rin, Pero, ikaw nga, Meggy.
Minsan parang feel mo madadapa ka kapag tumakbo ka ng nakalaylay lang yung palda. Kasi, syempre, gagalaw-galaw yan, diba? Tapos masastuck. Naalala ko na scenario pag naglalaro kami ng Chinese garter sa school. Yan yung ginagawa namin sa mga palda namin. Tinatak namin doon sa, sa waist.
Kita mo. So, yun ang ginagawa ko. Yun yung kanilang paghahanda, no? Itatak nila yung kanilang robes. Kasi nga mahaba, para hindi sila matisod, para mas maganda yung paggalaw nila, mas mabilis ang paggalaw, kailangan itatak nila yun sa belt nila. Pero ito, keep your lamps burning. Bakit daw? Anong ibig sabihin nun?
Hanggang gabi, nagbabantay.
Nag-aabang ka talaga. Kailangan lagi maliwanag yung bahay. Kasi, kumbaga, saan daw manggagaling daw yung master mo?
From a wedding feast.
Kung galing siyang wedding feast, what's unpredictable about it?
Kung kailan siya uuwi.
Hindi mo alam yun. Diba? Hindi mo alam kung kailan uuwi yung master mo. Kaya kailangan, pagdating niya, hindi yung napakadilim ng bahay niya. Kailangan maliwanag yun. To signal na,
Naghihintay
gising
pa kami.
sila.
Gising pa.
Oo, may tao pa ho dito.
Yung parang pag umuwi ka ng late night, kumakatok ka na, tapos parang, "Oy, pabukas ng gate! Pabukas ng pinto!"
You get the point. Kailangan nakasindi pa yung mga ilaw para pagdating ng master, alam niya na hindi siya katok ng katok at walang magpapapasok sa kanya. Ko may-ari ka ng bahay.
Diba, makakahiya din para dun sa master, di ba?
Oo naman. Oo. Pero tingnan nyo, napakaganda ng twist na nangyari. This is a very jarring twist in verse 37. Meron nangyari na hindi inaasahan.
Blessed are those servants whom the master finds awake when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will dress himself for service and have them recline at table, and he will come and serve them. It is the master who will come and serve the servants.
Grabe, no? Pero alam natin, di ba, sa pag-interpret natin ng parable, hinahanap natin yung points of reference. So, mukhang alam na natin kung sino yung servants. Ito yung mga disciples, followers ni Christ. At yung master ay ang Panginoon. Pero kita mo, pagdating niya, iba yung papakita niya. Di ba, ang inaasahan natin sa eksena dito, yun na yung master natin pagdating. Kunin niyo yung tsinelas niya. Ikaw, kunin mo yung kanyang pajama. Handa mo yun. Hindi, kailangan pa niyang maghilamos. Ito yung tuwalya niya, ito yung sabon. Iinom pa ng kape yan. Paggawa mo na ng kape ngayon din. Alam mo yung mga pangangailangan ng master mo. Ipe-prepare mo yun. Pero bakit kaya baligtad dito? Bakit may twist? So instead of the servants serving the master, it's the master serving his faithful servant.
Nagme-make kasi siya ng sense pagka nirelate mo na siya dun sa point of reference. Pero kung basahin siya as is, mapapatanong ka talaga bakit?
Ang weird, di ba? Paglilingkuran ka ng master mo. Kasi talagang he will dress himself ready to serve. Tapos, mag-recline kayo dyan. Ibig sabihin, papakainin pa niya. Bakit pagsisilbihan niya?
Yun nga.
Strange.
Yeah, very strange. Tama yung sinabi ni Meggy na thinking about the scene without the points of reference, it's just a strange thing. Pero of course, if you look at the bigger picture about the washing of the feet, the king who came to serve, medyo mas nagigets. Pero yun nga, sobrang plot twist lang talaga yung part na to.
Sobra to. No? Sige nga, let's try to flesh this out even more. Bakit kaya ganun ang gustong ipakita dito sa parable na to? Gusto ko nating makita din dito, ano ba yung palaging pinapakita ni Jesus sa disciples niya?
Anong klaseng master siya?
Kung anong klaseng master siya. Ngayon, kung alam mong ganito yung master mo, and this is how he treats his so-called servants, ikaw, anong dapat mong palaging isa sa puso at isa sa isip?
Yung karakter nung pinagsisilbihan ko.
Na dapat ako ay
Maging katulad niya.
ganito yung master ko eh. Ito talaga yung naturalesa ng master ko. Kaya ako habang naghihintay sa kanya, ganito rin ako. Diba? Kasi ang palagi nating, when we talk about the future, the end of time, ganyan, ang preoccupation palagi natin, kaya ang dami nating speculations eh. When and how he will come, ganyan, diba? Pero iba yung gusto niya ipakita dito, na dito kayo mag-focus sa bagay na ito. At ano yan?
Preparedness.
It's actually more than just preparedness. What is this preparedness?
Yung ganito kayo maghihintay. This is what preparedness looks like.
Ready for service.
And titingnan natin, saan ba ako dinadala ng relasyon ko sa Panginoon? How is my relationship with God impacting me right now? And the answer to that, as given in the parable, is what? Cultivating a servant heart. Tinuturo na dito, look, ito yung master ko eh. Alam ko ganito siya. And my relationship with my master, my relationship with Jesus, it's making me more like Him. He is a servant. Pag tinignan ko yung trajectory na yan, ito siya. Pagdating niya, ito pa rin siya. He is an obedient servant to the Father. Ako, I am just His servant. Kaya ako, ganun din ako. Tutularan ko siya. Itong sa parable na to, itong sa verse 37, parang binibigyan ka na ng full picture kung sino itong master na ito. At kapag ganito siya, ganito rin dapat ako.
Which makes sense kasi as you go through the story, may part here of serving eh. And what it looks like when you're not serving.
Kaya we can move to verse 38 if 37 is already clear to you. It will be good for those servants whose master finds them ready, even if he comes in the middle of the night or toward daybreak. Ang readiness pala dito, hindi lang yung kanilang physical preparedness for the master's return. But it always has something to do with who the master is and how that motivates, how that impacts, how that transforms me now.
Kung ganito yung master ko, may encourage din ako mag-serve.
Kasi kung siya nga ganyan, ako pa. Parang ano yung karapatan ko na hindi maging ganun kung yung master ko ganyan.
Yun na nga eh. Kaya kung kilala natin si Jesus, alam mo, tanggal lahat ng entitlements natin eh. Nakikita nyo na ba yung pattern dito kung lahat nakafocus kay Jesus? Maski nga yung 3 parables na nauna pa eh. Ang lahat tinuturo tayo, focus on God, ganito dapat. Undistracted. Ganito pa rin dito eh. Sa verse 37, binigay na sa atin yung picture. What the master is actually like. Kaya pala, ako din, I really want to prepare for His coming. Yun ang nakikita ko sa Kanya, and because I have that relationship with Jesus, inevitable na sa akin na magsaserve ako. Ganito siya eh. Ganito rin ako. Can you imagine, preparedness for the coming of Jesus is all about your heart attitude? Kaso ang hinahanap natin yung, ano bang petsa kaya ang pagdating ni Jesus? Ano kaya yung mga signs? Namula na yung,
Blood
may
moon,
red moon na, ayan, may earthquake, may ganito, may lindol, ganyan. Palaging, di ba, yun ang hinahanap natin.
Nasa labas.
Oo.
Nasa labas yung signs.
Yes. Yun pala, dapat nandito sa loob. And it's the heart of a servant. Kung meron ka niyan, you are prepared.
And even dito sa 38, yung if He comes in the second watch or in the third,
Oo, ano yan? Yan kasi yung reckoning ng time.
overtime na, parang gano'n, na ang haba na ng paghihintay.
Yung Roman reckoning of time, there are 4 watches. So it's 6 to 9 in the evening, 9 to 12, 12 to 3, and then 3 to 6. Yung Jewish reckoning of time is 3 watches, 6 to 10, 10 to 2, and then 2 to 6.
Grabe nun, di ba? Parang sobrang late na naghihintay.
Oo, late na.
Oo, di ba? Pero
Pero wala silang paki eh.
mahal na mahal nila yung master nila eh.
Oo, kasi ganun siya eh. Ganun din naman siya sa amin eh. Di ba?
Tsaka yung ini-impress din ni Jesus dito na alam niyang mahirap yung paghihintay.
Oo.
Feels long. Kaya blessed are you if you're one of the servants who are waiting that long.
And what will sustain you as you're waiting for the coming of your master? At tayo rin, as we wait for the coming of Jesus, what will sustain us is the heart of a servant. Ready, always ready to serve. Ang layo dun sa mga gusto nating mangyari na, uy, blood moon, uy, may lindol, ang daming signs, may gera, may ganito. Hindi yun ang binibigyang emphasis ng Bible. Yung puso ng tao ang binibigyan niya ng emphasis. Pero, ito yung sabi niya, meron kasi siyang gustong bigyan ng emphasis dito si Jesus dun sa parable niya. Kaya nagbigay siya ng isa namang klaseng angulo dahil nga hindi mo alam kung kailan darating. Yung ginamit niya dito magnanakaw eh. Kaya sabi niya, but understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. This has nothing to do anymore with the previous parable.
Nag-iba yung reference points eh. Siningit niyang line na to.
Oo, parang ano lang to, this is just something very practical. Na if you knew when a burglar would enter your house, prepared ka na. Because that's something that you can already predict. Maghahanda ka. Kaso hindi naman ganun eh. No? Hindi naman ganun talaga eh. So, ang kailangan mong gawin, dahil you don't know when the Lord will return.
Handa ka all the time.
Handa ka lang palagi. Kaya nga, doon sa verse 40, ito na yung punchline na sinasabi natin, di ba? Ano ang main point ng parable na to? You also must be ready because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect Him. Yun yung main point. At ang tanong, handa ka na ba? Handa ka na ba talaga? And you can only know if you are ready when you look more like Jesus.
Yeah. Tsaka yung line na to, also yung claim ni Jesus na there is a master over us. And that merong deadline na hindi natin alam exactly kung kailan. Pero for sure it will happen. It will come.
And hindi ang tanong is, are you ready? You also must be ready. Tsaka
Dapat. Must din.
You must be ready.
Tama yun. You must be.
Command
Tama.
Command siya.
Naalala ko rin yung dun sa Acts 1:7. Actually from 6, when they had come together, they asked him, Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? Then he said to them, it is not for you to know times or seasons that the Father has fixed by His own authority.
That's right.
But you will receive power So, it's about service.
Oo
It's
nga
about
eh.
service.
They will be empowered to
You
serve.
will be empowered to serve. Diba, yun na yun eh, dito eh.
Mas may command. May
Oh.
command. And you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem.
Oh, diba? You will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, in all Judea and Samaria, to the ends of the earth. So it's like, be servants. Diba? I will empower you to be servants. Ganun pa rin.
Ang ganda.
And actually, this even reminds me of yung last part ng Daniel, which is yung tinanong ni Daniel dun sa angel na kailan mangyayari lahat to.
Oo.
Sinabi rin sa kanya is,
Hindi rin niya.
go your way, Daniel. Parang,
Sige lang. Hindi mo na kailangan malaman pa to.
go your way. Go and serve.
Actually,
Gawin mo lang kung ano yung kailangan mo gawin.
Ang ganda lang. Nakaka-encourage talaga to na dito tayo mag-focus. Ako ba ay isang servant? Do I have the heart of Jesus? Handa ba ako maglingkod palagi? Handa ba ako maglingkod sa Panginoon? Pinapasimple niya eh.
Saka,
Actually, hindi simple yun.
Hindi din.
Pero grabe ang requirement is heart transformation.
Hindi natin kaya mag-isa din.
Yun na nga eh. Kaya ang galing ng verse 37 eh. Biglang, pinakita kung sino yung master. At eto yung magi-inspire dun sa servants. Di ba? We must be prepared. And what does that look like? Being a servant.
Being a servant. Whew. Wow. Okay. Yun na yung episode.
Kaso hindi pa tapos eh.
Hindi pa. Akala natin.
Alam natin, pwede na
si
eh.
Peter, hindi pa siya servant heart.
Habol pa si Peter eh.
Okay na sana eh.
Peter said, Lord, are you telling this parable for us or for all?
Kailangan nating himayin itong tanong ni Peter. Alam naman natin itong si Peter, siya palagi yung spokesman ng grupo, di ba?
Outspoken.
Oo, alam mo naman yung si Peter, medyo, tsaka impulsive din yun eh. Siya yung maboka sa lahat eh. Kaya, ano kaya yung significance nung concern ni Peter dun sa inexplain na parable about why we must be prepared and how? O anong itsura ng preparedness? Ito yung mga sinagot na dun eh. Pero bakit kaya siya biglang nagtanong? Ano yung nakikita ni Peter kaya dito? Bakit may clarification siya?
I think yung ina-address dun sa, if you look at chapter 12 verse 1, when so many thousands of the people had gathered together that they were trampling one another. Peter was qualifying, no? So, para sa amin ba tong mga disciples or para sa lahat?
Applicable lang ba to sa amin na kasama mo ngayon, yung apostles? Or is it for all the followers? Marami dyan.
Kasi parang kina-qualify niya eh. Teka, ito ba yung sa household lang natin? Yung tayo-tayo lang?
Exclusive.
No, exclusive.
Oo. O does this apply to them na nakikinig din sa'yo, who are also your followers? Kaya tinuloy natin kung paano sinagot ni Jesus. Yan. Ang pagkasagot niya, another parable. Actually, parang ang hindi sinagot yung tanong eh.
Well, yung sinasabi nga, di ba, yung addressing the questioner rather than the question.
Exactly. Oo. Tingnan nyo, paano niya sinimulan? Tanong din.
So verse 42, and the Lord said, Who then is the faithful and wise manager, whom his master will set over his household, to give them their portion of food at the proper time?
Okay, ang tanong niya ulit, para sa amin lang ba to yung tinutukoy mo dun sa parable mo? O kasama rin natin sila? Pero tingnan niyo naman yung sagot.
Question din yung sagot.
Question. Pero meron na siyang binibigyan ng emphasis. At ano yung nakikita niyong emphasis dito?
The faithful and wise manager.
At ano ginagawa niya? He will be...
Set over his household. So parang may task pa rin siya no?
May task, may specific task.
May service pa rin na nangyayari.
Service pa rin.
May service na ginagawa at saka very specific at kailangan dinideliver niya to, he delivers his tasks faithfully.
Yes.
At the proper time.
Kasi at the proper time. Itong pangalawang parable na to, kung mapapansin natin later, is an extension of the first one. Merong elaboration na nangyari dito. Kasi yung una, faithfulness eh. Pero dito, biglang may pinasok na agad na responsibility. Diba? Hindi lang to basta faithful, in waiting, serving. Dito, merong binibigyan ng punto yung responsibility ng isang servant. Ang ginamit kasi dito, in charge of his servant. So it's more like a manager. No? It's a different Greek word kaysa dun sa servant. So, para may position to eh. So, sabi niya...
So, 43, Blessed is that servant whom his master will find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions.
Uy.
Oh, wow. So ano pa mangyayari?
Manager of the entire house.
May promotion pa, no? Ipopromote si kuya. Kasi natuwa yung master. Pero eto, let's see kung baliktad ang nangyari. So in verse 45,
But if that servant says to himself, my master is delayed in coming, and begins to beat the male and female servants, and to eat and drink and get drunk, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and put him with the unfaithful.
Nako.
Alam mo, ito yung mga instance na when people say na, alam mo, gusto ko yung mga teachings ni Jesus because he was a wise teacher. Kindness and love.
Gentle.
Pare, cut him in pieces!
alam nyo, dito sa characteristic dun sa Gospel of Luke, lalo dun sa mga parables ni Luke, kapag meron dito na nagmo-monologue na yung soliloquy, that's already a signal that this is a bad character. Yun yun.
Nakausap yung sarili.
Kausap sarili.
Oo.
Nagpaplano, parang
Mukhang may
villain.
something dito.
Palagi yan. Pansinin niyo yan sa Gospel of Luke. Isa yan sa mga characteristics niya.
Oh, yung kanina ngang parable, yung rich retiree,
Yung
meron
rich
siyang
fool,
sinabi na,
diba? Galing ko, nag-ipon ako.
Yan.
Be glad,
Exactly.
my soul. Ang ganda ng retirement plan mo, bro.
Diba? Pag nakita niyo yan, hudyat na yan.
Yari ka.
Ano may mga pinagagawa niya? Actually, parang ini-imagine niya to, di ba?
Ang tagal nung pagbalik nung master ko. Might as well, di ba? Since ako naman yung nasa tuktok, ako naman yung boss. Pagsamantalaan ko na yung male and female servants. Tapos, banjing, eat and drink and get drunk.
Ay, sarap ng buhay. Manyanita siya ng manyanita dito, oh. Puro ganun na lang ginagawa. Party-party na lang siya. May nangyari.
The master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and put him with the unfaithful.
Oo, parang hindi galing sa bibig ni Jesus.
Napaka-un-Christ-like naman to, Jesus.
Christ-like,
Cut him in pieces.
Itong cut to pieces, literally, it's cut in two. Kung natatandaan nyo kasi, yung kay Abraham, yung covenant ni Yahweh kay Abraham,
Yes.
but he saw it in a vision. Yung large animals, they were cut in half. Tapos, yung mga smaller animals, wala, pinapatay-patay na lang siya. Pero, kasi ganito yun, ito yung kanilang ritual. And this is not unique to Israelites or to Hebrews. Practice ito nung
Near East.
in the Near East, ganito yung kanilang practice when they are making a covenant. Ang gagawin nila, so hinati yung katawan ng mga hayop, di ba? Tapos, both parties, lalakad sila dun sa gitna, dun sa blood path. Halimbawa, kami ni Gutch, meron kaming agreement, so lalakad muna ako dun sa dugo, dun sa blood path. Tapos, susunod naman, si Gutch din dadaan dun. Kasi, if you break our agreement, nakikita mo yung mga pira-pirasong hayop, mga hayop na yan, ganyan ang mangyayari sa'yo kapag hindi mo sinunod yung covenant natin.
Yung penalty.
Oo. So, ibig sabihin, itong language na to is drawing from a covenantal language. You have broken our agreement. You have broken our covenant. Kaya ito magiging fate mo. Hahatiin ka rin sa dalawa.
Tsaka unfaithful covenant language.
Yeah, it's covenant language. Kaya nga pinapakita dito, you have broken your covenant with God. If you don't have the heart of a servant, that is betrayal.
Pag good time ka lang, pabanjing-banjing ka lang, you've already broken the covenant.
Yes, oo.
Hindi lang kasi lax kasi inabuso niya. Kumbaga he went outside of his duties talaga.
Di ba?
Right.
So, sino daw itong mga tong pinarusahan?
And that servant who knew his master's will but did not get ready or act according to his will receive a severe beating.
Di ba? Because you have broken your covenant with God.
So, wait. Just to clarify lang. So, when he said, cut him in pieces, hindi to literally slice him in half.
Well, you're going to be punished. It's not literal. It's using language that points us back to how covenants were made.
Okay. Kasi if he cut him in pieces and then beat him up, it's kind of weird.
Ay, wala na. Oo, ano yan? Meat grinder na yun. As the manager of the servants, you know what the will of the master is. May responsibility ka. Bibigyan mo ng mga food allowances nila sa tamang panahon na ganito. You know what the will is. But You broke the agreement.
Yari.
And assign him a place with the unbelievers. Sino kaya yung unbelievers na yan?
Probably the Pharisees?
Or just those people who have rejected Yahweh, who are rebellious against Yahweh. Ang nangyari tuloy niyan, parang meron kang special place. May access ka dun sa master. You have privileges. You have responsibilities. Pero parang sa itsura, you don't look like an unbeliever at all. But to be assigned a place with the unbelievers, ang sakit nun.
Andun ka na eh.
Andun ka na.
May pwesto ka na eh.
May pwesto ka na. Believer nga ang tingin sa'yo eh. You have a position in the Lord.
Parang si Judas.
Oo. But how you behaved proved that you never really belonged there. Pero alam mo, tama ka, Maggie eh. Parang si Judas. Yun ang malapit-lapit na example. Because Judas, he's always been associated with Jesus. 3 years of his life, na-witness niya yung mga miracles, heard all the teachings of Jesus, but in the end, wala. Tinalikuran niya si Jesus eh.
Something interesting din about Judas is throughout the whole story sa Gospels, he never actually calls Jesus Lord. It's always Rabbi.
Wow, that's a very good observation.
Yeah, I like what you're teaching. Parang ganun lang, but never really submission. So yun, ganun kinalabasan.
Parang yun nangyari kay Judas. He did not exactly lose what he has, but he rather showed he never had a proper relationship with Jesus to begin with, di ba? Jesus was never his Lord. Kaya yun, that was the very sad fate of Judas. Alright, so ano yung kaibahan nga nito? Why do you think this parable became an extension of the first one? What is much clearer here?
Yung thread niyan is yung paghihintay means serving, and that means may responsibility, and that also means may accountability.
Meron. Yes. At saka, I think lalo pang pinalakas yung konsepto ng faithfulness dito because of the, how it borrowed the covenantal language, cut into pieces. Unfaithful ka kapag ganun. So now, continuing, okay, let's finish our parable. We'll now go to verse 48.
But the one who did not know and did what deserved a beating will receive a light beating. Everyone to whom much was given, of him much will be required. And from him to whom they entrusted much, they will demand the more.
Oh.
Yun na yun, no? Punchline ulit.
Yun yung punchline.
So may two parties dito. The servant who knew the master's will but did not get ready, medyo matindi yung beating niya. But the one who did not know but still did what deserved the beating, light naman yung beating niya. Walang takas, we can't claim ignorance.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd still be punished anyway.
It's the servant's responsibility to know the master's will.
Yeah. Pero ang pinaka-punchline niya yung pangalawa kasing sentence eh. Everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. And from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked.
Oh my.
Matindi na ngayon dito yung responsibility.
Sabi nga ng propeta, di ba? With great power comes great responsibility.
Propeta mo talaga.
Propeta talaga eh.
So wow. Parang may dalawang punchline dito eh, no?
Yeah, but I think the main one is the last sentence.
Yeah,
So, parang nasaklawan niya lahat eh.
Which also goes to the number 3, ano yung response that he is asking from his audience and also from us. And it's this one eh. Everyone to whom much was given, of him much will be required. And from him to whom they entrusted much, they will demand the more.
And remember, this was Jesus' response to the question of Peter.
Sa amin lang ba o pati sa general crowd?
That's the wrong focus. Hindi mo na naman nakuha, Pedro. May bagay na dapat ka pang mas makita. Kasi itong disciples niya, ang bigat naman talaga ng responsibilities din eh, di ba? Eyewitnesses, they received all the teachings of Jesus. Mabigat ang responsibility nila. And Jesus is preparing his disciples for his imminent departure. Nasa na naman ba ang mga puso ninyo? Ano bang gagawin nyo? Will you occupy yourselves with God's business? Or will you take advantage of the seeming delay? Are you going to waste the opportunities? Are you going to be like the rich fool dun sa naunang parable?
Pang good time na lang, parang gano'n.
Oo, ganun na lang
buhay
ba?
na to, para sa akin naman to eh, lahat to eh. Magsasawa ba tayo sa kakahintay?
Right.
We have to be prepared.
Kasi alam mo tayo tingnan mo tayo, anong responsibility natin. As believers, meron tayong maliit na niche dito sa kingdom ni God through our podcast. Paano natin gagamitin ito to serve the body of Christ. Sa halip na pagsilbihan natin ang ating mga sariling interes, are we going to be found engaged in faithful service? Kung ano man yan, kung ano man yung pinagagawa ng Panginoon sa'yo.
And actually, yung sinasabi mo, Rainier, about the podcast, di ba sabi nga na James 3:1, yung not many of you should become teachers, my brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness. So,
See?
to those who have more will be expected. Everyone to whom much was given, much more will be required. Just like dito, James 3:1. So parang,
Right.
ano ba itong napasok natin, ano?
Oo. Last episode na po namin. Ayaw na po namin magturo.
Laki pala ng responsibilidad.
Just imagine nga, di ba? I think we've also mentioned this na it's not just us talking on microphones and everything. It's a witness eh. It's our witness eh. And just think of the scenario of like, nakita yung video ko online na nagro-road rage ako, may sinapak akong tao or something. Parang gano'n na, tapos nakuha sa video. So parang, uy, yan yung nagpa-podcast ng Bible study, di ba? What great damage that would be, not just to this podcast, but also to the witness of the gospel.
Yung it's better for you to have a millstone tied on your neck.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
It's
right.
for all Christians na people are watching. We have a responsibility. We have a great responsibility.
Kaya nga ang ganda nung pagkakatama ni Jesus dun sa, how he changed the focus. Instead of addressing the question of Peter, mas binigyan niya ng tamang direksyon. Peter was focused on the wrong thing. He was asking the wrong question. Kaya sinagot niya ni Jesus by letting him know, wait, look, you are my disciple. You have a huge responsibility. Don't you abuse your privileges. Don't you abuse your authority. Be a servant. Magkakadugtong lahat yan eh.
Oh, which is also yung reaction to the way that the Pharisees were handling their disciples. They lord it over the others. Parang may baga ganun eh.
And they're all about money and power.
Kausap rin ni Jesus dito sa audience na to, I think. Sa beginning ng chapter 12, it's about the hypocrisy of the Pharisees. So, may parang ganun din na lahat ng mga yan, may accountability yan.
Di ba? Siyempre, the importance of service over position. May mga papel tayong ginagampanan sa kingdom, pero wag lumaki ang ulo naman, Tandaan na naglilingkod lang tayo.
Okay, so that's the parable. Now we'll move on to, we've discussed a bit of the so what already, pero ano bang mga natutunan nyo sa episode na to?
Yung command of you also must be ready as it is fitting for a servant. When we call ourselves servants, natural lang na dapat ganun yung ginagawa natin, di ba? Kumbaga, it's not something out of the ordinary, kumbaga. It's not something to be placarded or uploaded, di ba, na pinagmamalaki natin na ganito ganire ginagawa natin. Hindi kasi natural yun sa servant na nagsuserve eh.
Yes, tama. Hindi to special
So,
ministry.
yes, that's exactly the point.
Hindi to special calling.
It's a special calling.
Everybody has to serve. Or as a reaction to Jesus, we will serve one way or the other.
Yeah. Yung sa akin, yung reminder, which is also found in Luke, in the other Gospels as well. But let me read Luke 22. Medyo nabanggit ito ni Gutch kanina, but I'll just start from verse 27. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table? But I am among you as one who serves. Diba?
Grabe, this is the character of our God, of our Master.
Yes, the one who serves. Mahihiya naman ako kung mag-aasal na Panginoong may lupa ako. Parang ganun. Hindi.
Oh, 'di ba? Siya na nga yung king who came to serve, tapos ako magpapaka-bossy pa sa ibang tao. Alam mo yung ganung klase?
Walang lugar para sa ganun. Kaya nga walang lugar for narcissism. Sa kaharian ng Panginoon, walang lugar dyan.
May mga nagpa-power trip, mga ganun.
Oh yes, ego tripping. Oo.
King who came to serve, tapos magpa-power trip tayo.
Hindi pwede. At makakalungkot, we know leaders na nagiging ganyan. So, magandang reminder talaga to na magpakumbaba lang tayo dahil yung mismong Panginoon natin, yung sinisilbihan natin, grabe magsilbi. Binigay nga niya yung buong buhay niya para sa atin eh.
Sa akin, naalala ko yung dati kong boss. Doon nung kilala niyo siya, si Gina Lopez.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boss ko siya dati. And then, kasi siya yung type na boss na tipong talagang magsuserve talaga siya. Kahit sa mga tao na siguro hindi naman tinitignan ng mataas ng iba, talagang isuserve niya yung mga tao. Tapos, literal na galing siya ng States, nilipad siya papuntang Pilipinas, mag-helicopter siya papuntang isang isla, tapos isuserve niya yung mga tao. Parang ganun. Parang wala kang masasabi sa kanya. Kami bilang mga empleyado niya, parang mahiya naman kami kung kami yung mga tatamad-tamad, diba? Kapamilya niya yung may-ari ng network, pero ganyan siya, diba? All the more ito si Cristo na kung makita natin, siya kayang gumawa ng buong mundo eh. Tapos, siya yung pinahako sa krus, tapos siya yung dumaan sa ganyang klaseng paghihirap. Sino ba tayo para mag-complain dun sa mga sitwasyon natin? Tao lang tayo sa umpisa, siya, Diyos siya. Tapos siya yung dumaan sa ganyan. So, ano pang pwede nating sabihin, diba? Kung mismong creator dumaan sa ganun, diba?
Yes,
And
yes.
yung pangalawa, kasi itong pagiging servant, nakatatak to sa isip natin parate. Pero ako parang minsan kini-question ko yung sarili ko. Kasi okay, gusto ko mag-serve, ganyan. Pero minsan parang iniisip ko na yung service, para kanino ba talaga to? Alam mo yun, minsan yung mga intention natin, ako yung mga intentions ko, confession na nagmi-mix up. Sinasabi ko para kay God ko to lahat ginagawa. Pero sometimes nakahalo dyan, nagsisik na pala ako ng approval ng ibang tao.
Right.
Alam mo yun? Para kanino mo ba talaga yung ginagawa?
Oo, kasi minsan yung nakakarinig ako nung mga ibang tao na ang sarap kasi sa pakiramdam talaga tumulong eh. Paano kung hindi na masarap sa pakiramdam? Tutulong ka pa ba? Naghihintay ka ba talaga ng ganong klaseng reward that you feel good? That's why you're helping? Just to feel good about yourself. Pero I don't think Jesus ever said on the cross, "Oh, Father, I feel so good.
Why have you
This is
forsaken me?
great."
Sinabi niya, di ba?
Hindi naman ganun eh. Eli, Eli, lama sabaktani.
Sa garden, di ba? Drops of blood, sweating.
In defense naman, benefit of the doubt naman, it could also be na parang because the Lord would transform our hearts to also be joyful to what He wants us to be joyful for. So baka naman parang ganun nga na by self-sacrificial love and service, nagkakaroon ng joy even through suffering. It could be just benefit of the doubt lang. That's
Right. Kasi minsan kasi yung service, masakit na talaga yan, nakakapagod yan. At saka you'll be offended by people, you'll not be appreciated. Kaya hindi ko alam kung hanggang saan mo masasabing, ang sarap sa feeling, grabe.
Eventually, hindi yun yung magiging basihan.
Hindi talaga yun eh.
Kasi matetest yun eh.
Yes.
Yung sa akin, I don't know kung tama yung pagkakabasa ko, pero yung natutunan ko dito is that I think the ones who will have the harshest eternal punishment are not unbelievers eh. It will be believers who did not take Jesus seriously.
Or maybe those who associate themselves with Jesus.
Appear to be believers.
Oo, nakita mo na nga eh. Master mo na nga siya eh. Tapos hindi mo pa sineryoso. Nag-abuse ka pa, nagpa-good time ka pa. I think the most severe punishment will be for those. And I think that should be a warning for all of us eh. Na we should take this seriously. Hindi to good time lang. There's accountability. Especially, do not take the name of the Lord your God in vain.
In vain.
Kung dala-dala natin si Jesus as our nameplate, as everybody's looking at us and we are leading people, that's mighty responsibility right there. With great power comes great accountability.
Yeah.
So, grabe lang talaga. Parang what great a punishment is waiting for those who claim to be followers of Jesus, but don't do what He says. Who says to Him, Lord, Lord.
You'll be assigned a place with the unbelievers.
They used His name. Mas malala yun eh. They used His name for their sordid gain.
Tapos, they used His name, tas naging bad influence, or even enabled people to sin.
That's right.
Wow. This is may deadline. May accountability, and this is not the Jesus that a lot of the happy good time Christianity would like to hear. But this is the real one.
Yeah. All right.
Wow. So okay, so I guess yun na yung ating last episode.
Hindi na lang pala for the year eh.
Ang bigat pala ng responsibility natin.
Oh man. But yes. So that was intense. But that was the parable of the waiting servants and the wise manager sa Luke 12:35 to 48. Para sa ating listeners, I hope if you were to take one thing here, I think it's really just be prepared.
Yes.
Be prepared.
Be a servant.
Be a servant. Be prepared.
Mhm.
Especially ngayon na as we go into Christmas, may it remind us of the King who came to serve. As His followers, na tayo din, magsaserve din tayo. Kung ito na yung last episode namin for 2020, we'd like to greet you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Maligayang Pasko.
Alright, see you guys. Bye-bye. God bless. Thanks for joining us in the UCM Interface Bible Study Podcast. If you want to know more about our ministry, follow UCM Interface on Facebook and Instagram, or email us at ucminterface@gmail.com. Join us in Union Church of Manila, Rada, Corner Legazpi, Makati City.